agree with Rodman. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy.
Let me tell you the real reason players feared Larry.
Larry Bird wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, he didn't need to dunk from the free throw line or make viral plays to dominate. He was calculated, cold, and utterly relentless, a competitor who could break down the league's toughest defenders with nothing but footwork, trash talk, and a stare that made opponents question themselves. He would switch hands mid-game just to prove a point, to entertain himself, or to assert control. Behind the legend, though, lies a story of adversity, like the 13-ton gravel accident at his mother's house that quietly affected his body, and the 1991 phone call that showed he was the one player Magic Johnson trusted when everything felt uncertain. To understand why the NBA feared Bird, you have to go back to the beginning. Magic Johnson didn't enter the early 1980s thinking he could coast. Every morning before breakfast or practice, he studied Larry Bird's box score from the night before, not as a fan, but as strategy. He measured his own performance against Bird's numbers before the day even began. That's obsession. That's respect mixed with fear. Magic was treating Bird like a final exam that never ended, and Bird had already set the tone. It started long before the NBA. The 1979 NCAA championship, Michigan State versus Indiana State, was Magic versus Bird. Over 35 million people tuned in, making it the most-watched college basketball game ever. Bird, the small-town kid from French Lick, Indiana, dragged an underdog program into the spotlight. Magic, the confident, flashy leader from Michigan State, was built for the big stage. It was grit versus glamour, rural versus urban, quiet killer versus showman. Michigan State won 75-64. Magic put up 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. On paper, he outplayed Bird, but what stuck was Bird's presence. He processed everything 5 steps ahead, even in defeat, and that unnerved Magic. Bird averaged nearly 29 points and 15 rebounds that season, carried a program nobody talked about, and made it matter. When both entered the NBA, the league needed saving. Magic joined a loaded Lakers team with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Norm Nixon, ready to win immediately. Bird walked into a Celtics team that went 29-53, a mess. In his rookie season, Bird averaged 21 points and 10 rebounds, flipping the entire energy of a franchise without highlight dunks or viral plays. He did it with fundamentals, footwork, passing vision, and a confidence that made defenders feel exposed. Bird won Rookie of the Year, and Magic noticed. The rivalry became psychological. Players can handle being out-jumped or outrun, but someone who reads your mind, shrinks the court, and exposes your weaknesses, that hurts pride. By the mid-1980s, the rest of the NBA realized Bird wasn't just a shooter. He treated games like experiments, planned his moves, called his shots, and executed exactly as promised. That consistency and cold execution was the trap. If he tells you the plan and you still can't stop it, you feel humiliated. Examples abound. In the 1986 three-point contest, the first ever, Bird walked in calm.
Boom! Bust the door open. Walk around. You might do a little something. Nah, you ain't gonna. Nah, you shot yourself out in warm-up. Talking about Leon Wood. He said, nah, you shot yourself out.
Larry Bird's dominance wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Unlike Michael Jordan, who attacked defenders with sheer explosiveness and athleticism, Bird attacked the mind. He wanted you doubting yourself before the ball even left his hands. A perfect example is the Xavier McDaniel moment. In a tight game, Bird pointed to a spot on the floor and told McDaniel, "I'm going to stand right here and hit it in your face." McDaniel played perfect defense. Bird still got to the spot, hit the fadeaway, and as he ran back, quipped, "I didn't mean to leave 2 seconds on the clock." That wasn't just scoring, it was total control. Even the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, felt it. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, and their physical, intimidating roster could knock you around, but Bird played a mental game they couldn't disrupt. Isaiah Thomas admitted Bird's presence created genuine panic, a mental dominance that led directly to the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals Game 5 against Detroit. With 5 seconds left and the Pistons up by 1, a routine inbound pass should have secured the lead. Instead, Bird anticipated the play, stepped in to steal the ball, and immediately fired to Dennis Johnson for the game-winning layup. One moment changed the series, and it started with fear. That fear wasn't about hype, it was Bird's earned genius. Critics like Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Rodman once suggested that if Bird were black, he'd be just another guy, reflecting wounded pride more than reality. Magic Johnson dismissed that notion entirely. Bird's skill and dominance transcended race. He was simply a basketball genius. Reggie Miller experienced it firsthand as a rookie in 1987. Bird calmly reminded him at the free throw line, "Rook, you've got to be kidding me. I'm the best shooter in the league right now. Understand?" Then he drained the shots. No theatrics, just a lesson in hierarchy. Even as his body began betraying him, most notably from chronic back issues caused by a gravel-moving incident at his mother's house, Bird continued to dominate. He played through pain that would sideline most players, yet still asserted mental and on-court control over rising stars like Shawn Kemp in 1991, reminding Kemp he was still the best player from Indiana. Michael Jordan immediately recognized this, dubbing Bird the new sheriff upon entering the league. Kobe Bryant later ranked him in his top 5 all-time, praising not only the statistics, but the cold, predictive mindset, the "I will tell you exactly how this ends" energy. Bird's legacy is astonishing. 3 NBA championships, 3 MVP awards, 12 All-Star selections, 9 straight All-NBA first-team honors, and Rookie of the Year, all while contending with severe pain in an era of physical, punishing basketball. Defensive specialists like Michael Cooper admit that Bird's mental game was just as intimidating as his shot. Entire game plans were built around him, yet even perfect defensive execution couldn't stop his options, his passing, or his backdoor cuts. Bird's dominance was born in Indiana, a small town with limited resources where basketball was survival, not just sport. Leading a tiny program like Indiana State to the 1979 national championship, watched by over 35 million people, set the tone for a career defined by anticipation, preparation, and cerebral precision. Pat Riley, who coached against Bird, once said, "If I had to pick one person to take a shot to win a game, I'd choose Michael Jordan. But if I had to pick one person to take a shot to save my life, I'd choose Larry Bird."
Trouble is once, he's like, "Reggie, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. Reggie, are you kidding me? I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen. You think you're gonna be able to ice me?" As he's talking. Next one, wow.
Larry Bird talking to you saying, I'm the best man in Indiana to put a 3 into my ball. That's true?
It is very true. So, I look in the mirror, I'm like, well,
Jordan, Magic, Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and
Larry Bird's mastery was a combination of precision, psychology, and subtle mechanics, a formula that left opponents mentally broken before the ball even left his hands. Sports psychologists refer to this as the knockout effect. The moment Bird told you exactly where he would score, he wasn't showing off, he was planting doubt. At that level, basketball is instinct. You react, you move, you trust your body. But Bird forced you to think, and thinking at his pace meant you were already behind. He also perfected what could be called the 3-in rule. Unlike most stars who rely on speed or power to create separation, Bird needed only a tiny lean or subtle shift in balance to step back and release a shot. He attacked your center of gravity, not your speed. Add the bait and punish system. Double teams weren't a threat, they were an opportunity. Bird would post in enticing spots. As soon as a defender committed, he'd hit a cutter or shooter with surgical timing. He saw the court like a map, angles obvious to him but invisible to everyone else. Guarding him was like plugging holes in a sinking boat. Yet Bird's dominance also carried a human cost. Labeled the Great White Hope by media, he faced resentment from peers who believed his acclaim was narrative-driven rather than earned. Dennis Rodman and Isaiah Thomas criticized him publicly, claiming his MVPs were inflated. The reality was far tougher. Bird had the skills, the mindset, and the consistency to back up every accolade. Ironically, his toughness, his grit, his pride also led to long-term injury. In 1985, he chose to shovel 13 tons of gravel himself to build his mother's driveway rather than hire workers. That decision damaged his back, setting off chronic nerve pain that haunted him for the rest of his career. Even by the 1992 Dream Team in Barcelona, while Jordan and Magic were effortlessly dazzling, Bird often had to lie flat behind the bench to cope with pain. Yet he still competed at the highest level, earning gold medals and forcing even Shaquille O'Neal to acknowledge his greatness. Bird's influence extended beyond the court. His intelligence, preparation, and mental toughness became a blueprint for future generations. The rivalry with Magic Johnson evolved into mutual respect. For over a decade, they were symbols of competing franchises, Lakers versus Celtics, Showtime versus Grit. But when Magic announced his HIV diagnosis in 1991, Bird's first call was to him. That gesture transcended rivalry. It wasn't about trophies or stats, it was about loyalty and understanding the weight of being the face of the NBA. At Bird's jersey retirement, Magic famously wore a Celtics shirt under